All right. We're still working through our inductive assignment. And so, since this is an introductory course, it means that each week you're building different pieces of an inductive assignment. Now, when you go forward in other inductive classes like the Book of Romans or prison epistles or synoptic gospels, if you go on to take other inductive Bible study classes at MacU, what you'll find is that the inductive assignments build a lot more quickly and are encompassing all of these different elements in one assignment. But again, since it's introductory, you're just kind of building, starting with, first of all, kind of getting a grasp on general material, and then being able to break the book down into units. And now we're moving on to where we start to identify the laws of composition or structural laws. And a lot of times this seems overwhelming when you're new to the inductive process, but I just want to take some of the mystery out of it for you and try to kind of boil it down, because really this is an integral part of inductive Bible study. And when you can start identifying where these laws are at work, a lot of pieces are going to come together. So I'm actually going to attach in the news feed this document that oops, getting some text there, that I am showing here on my screen. And I just call this a structural laws cheat sheet. It just boils down what's in the Bauer textbook and gives you like a very simple definition of each of these structural laws. Now, what I'm going to suggest is that, especially in this introductory course, unless you are just really getting this and really excelling in it, I want you to live in this top portion of this page. Recurrence, contrast, comparison, causation, substantiation, particularization, generalization. In my view, those are the easier laws to identify, especially these top, what is that, six? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. These top 5 are the easiest ones to identify. So it's a good starting point to kind of, again, warm up into the inductive process. So let's just walk through those top 5. First of all, recurrence. Easy to identify. When you see repetition, a recurring term, they give the example here of joy in Philippians, or rejoice is a recurring word in Philippians. So when you're looking through the Gospel of Mark in this case, is there a recurrence of terms? If that starts standing out to you and emerging to you, then you simply identify that as recurrence. You place that in your inductive study and you show the references of every place where you're identifying that recurring term or idea. Okay, contrast, same concept in that it's an easier one to identify because there's a clue word that generally always indicates the use of contrast, and it's that word but. And so when you're reading and you see but placed within a thought or connecting two different sentences or passages, chances are we're contrasting something, an association of opposites. Okay, so again, you would identify where that contrast is taking place, give the reference, and a brief summary of how you see that law at work. Comparison is kind of the opposite of that, right? We're comparing like things. It's the association of like things. And so again, we usually have these clue words, like or as. So again, this is easy to identify because if you're reading, those words start popping out at you and you go, wait a second, like or as. We're comparing something. It's as simple as that. That's a law of composition that's at work. So you're going to observe that and give the reference. Causation, where the cause is shown previous to the effect. So here's that key word that is so common throughout Scripture, therefore. And whenever we see that connecting word, therefore, it gives us a huge clue that causation is at work, that there's a cause, and now the effect of that is going to be communicated after the therefore, right? My daughter had a fever this morning. Therefore, I am staying home with her today. Literally, that's true. Okay, so the cause is my daughter's fever, her sickness. The effect of that cause is that I have to stay home and work from home today. Okay, where do you see that in Scripture? And then lastly is substantiation. The effect is stated, and then the cause is shown. So this is the opposite, right? The idea that the effect is saying I'm staying home because my daughter is sick. Okay, and so it's the same kind of content, but it's flipping it around. And so again, there's key words usually there. There's not actually stated on this page, but because is one of those things where we're saying, okay, here's the effect and here's the cause of that situation. So I would really encourage you to live in those top 5 in this course and keep it simple. And as you grow in the inductive process, these other ones are going to start coming into play and being more apparent to you also. Now, one last thing to help you walk through this, because this in week 4's assignment, we're moving beyond just identifying the structural law to saying, okay, now what do I do with that? Okay, I see this law at work, so how do I move that to a deeper level of interpretation? Well, we do that by asking the right questions. And so, to do that, to help you guide, again, to use the course resource and make this as simple as possible, turn to page 127 in your Bauer textbook. And those pages, 127 through 130, you see every one of these structural laws with specific questions that you should ask. When you see this law, the law of recurrence, you should ask every time, what's the primary meaning of this recurring element, right? How do the individual occurrences relate to illumine one another? In other words, how do they build on one another? Why do you think this recurrence is taking place? What is the author trying to emphasize? What are the possible implications of this term being recurrent? Same thing with contrast. You should always be asking, first of all, what are the two things that are being contrasted? What major differences are emphasized by the writer? What is the precise and specific meaning of each of these differences? Okay, I don't need to read it for you, but I am pointing this resource to you. It can get lost in this very giant textbook, but it's right there on page 127 to say, here's the interpretive questions. And if you ask those questions and seek to answer those questions on your week 4 assignment, you're going to be very successful. I hope this is helpful to you and helps make this a simpler method for you to apply and to work through. If you do have any questions, please reach out to me. Thanks so much. God bless.